There's a specific kind of terror that comes when someone looks at you and sees the thing you've spent years hiding. Nora had survived 3 years invisible. No scent, no heat, no trace. She walked into Heat Census Night wearing a suppressant strong enough to kill most wolves, betting everything that the Lycan King wouldn't notice one lonely Omega in a hall full of desperate bodies. She was wrong. The moment she stepped onto the verification stone, Gabriel's eyes went black. Not silver, not gold, but black like something ancient waking inside a body that had forgotten how to feel. The entire court froze. Moon priests stopped chanting. Alphas stopped breathing. Then the king did something that shattered 4 centuries of law. He claimed her heat as royal property. Not as a mate, as a weapon. "You are not nothing," he said, close enough that only she could hear the strain in his voice. "And whatever you're hiding, it just triggered something in me that hasn't surfaced in 5 years." Nora's suppressant was military grade, illegal, designed to hide trafficking victims so completely that even bloodhounds went blind. But Gabriel could smell her through it. Which meant one of 2 things. Either he was the most dangerous predator in the realm, or she was. Because 3 days later, when her heat finally broke free, it wasn't Omega warmth that flooded the castle. It was prime heat, the ancient, extinct bloodline that built the kingdom. And every marked alpha in the Black Keep dropped to their knees like puppets with cut strings. Their power had never been theirs. It had always been hers. The night they came to measure shame, Nora wore her quietest dress and walked into the grand hall like she was made of smoke. Heat Census Night. The one night every unmated wolf in the realm couldn't hide, couldn't lie, couldn't pretend they were anything other than what their biology screamed them to be. The moon priests stood in a half circle around the verification stone, their silver robes catching torchlight like knives. Behind them, on a throne carved from obsidian and old violence, sat the Lycan King, Gabriel. Even his name tasted like winter. Nora kept her eyes down and her breathing shallow. She'd practiced this. She'd spent 3 years perfecting the art of being nothing. No scent, no presence, no threat. The suppressant she'd stolen from her old pack burned through her veins like frost, numbing everything that made her wolf, everything that made her readable. To the priests, to the king, to anyone who might look twice, she would register as hollow, empty, safe. Hey, beautiful souls. If you're watching this and wondering how far Nora's secret can carry her, drop a comment below and tell me, would you risk everything to stay invisible, or would you fight to be seen? And if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button now because what Gabriel does next will shatter every rule you thought this world lived by. Trust me, you don't want to miss what happens when the king breaks his own law. The line moved forward. 1 wolf at a time stepped onto the verification stone, and the priests hummed their invasive little chant, pulling at the air until heat signatures bled through like watercolor. Alphas glowed red gold. Betas flickered pale yellow. Omegas bloomed soft pink and violet, delicate and damning. Nora had seen it before. In her old pack, they'd called it the Revelation. They'd made her stand on a stone just like this one, while they measured, cataloged, and used her. They drained her heat cycle after cycle, feeding it into their alphas like fuel, and when she'd finally broken down, they'd told her it was her fault for being unstable. She'd escaped with nothing but a vial of suppressant and a name she'd chosen herself. Now, she was 3 wolves away from the stone. 2. 1. Next. Nora stepped forward. Her boots made no sound. Her dress hung loose, hiding the way her hands shook. She could feel the weight of 100 eyes, but none of them mattered except the ones on the throne. Gabriel hadn't moved in an hour. He sat like a statue, silver eyes tracking every wolf with the detached precision of a predator who no longer needed to hunt. The rumors said he was cursed, that he was hollow inside, kept alive only by the crown's ancient magic, that he didn't feel anything anymore, not rage, not desire, not even hunger. Nora didn't believe in curses, but she believed in monsters. She stepped onto the stone. The priests began their chant, low and rhythmic, pulling at the threads of her scent. Nora felt the suppressant clamp down tighter, a fist around her wolf, around her heat, around everything that could give her away. The air around her stayed clear, blank, nothing. One of the priests frowned. Again. The chant repeated. Still nothing. Nora let out a slow, silent breath. It's working. Just a few more seconds. Then Gabriel moved. It wasn't much, just a tilt of his head, a shift in his posture. But every wolf in the hall felt it, the way prey feels the moment before the trap snaps shut. His eyes locked onto Nora, and they weren't silver anymore. They were black, deep, endless black bleeding into silver at the edges, like an eclipse, like something ancient waking up inside a body that had forgotten how to dream. The priests stopped chanting. Gabriel stood. The hall went so quiet Nora could hear her own heartbeat slamming against her ribs. He descended the throne steps slowly, each footfall deliberate, and the wolves in the hall parted like water. No one spoke. No one breathed. Even the priests looked confused, glancing at each other, at the stone, at the king who was breaking 100 years of protocol. Gabriel stopped 3 feet from Nora, close enough that she could see the tension in his jaw, the way his hands flexed at his sides like he was fighting himself. His scent hit her then, cold pine and iron, laced with something darker, something that made her wolf whimper and press flat inside her chest. "You," Gabriel said, his voice low and edged, "are not nothing." Nora's throat closed. No, he can't. "I can smell you." His words were deliberate, carved from stone. "Through the suppressant, through the stone, through every lie you've wrapped yourself in." The priests exchanged glances. One stepped forward. "Your Majesty," the stone shows. "The stone is wrong." Gabriel's gaze never left Nora. Or she is something it was never designed to measure. Nora's pulse roared in her ears. Every instinct screamed at her to run, but her legs wouldn't move. She was pinned under the weight of his attention, under the horrible certainty that he was right. He could smell her, and if he could, then everything she'd built, every wall she'd hidden behind, was useless. Gabriel took 1 step closer. "What are you hiding, Omega?" "Nothing." The word came out stronger than she felt. "I'm no one. I shouldn't even be here." "And yet you are." His head tilted, studying her like a puzzle with too many pieces. "You walked into my hall wearing a suppressant strong enough to kill a lesser wolf. You stood on the verification stone and showed us nothing, and now you're telling me you're no one." "I am." "Liar." The word cracked through the hall like a whip. Gabriel turned to the priests, his voice cold and absolute. "Mark her." The head priest blinked. "Your Majesty?" "This Omega's heat is claimed as royal property under the Trafficking Prevention Act. She will be held in the Black Keep under Crown protection until her signature is fully verified." "No." Nora's breath left her in a rush. "You can't." "I can." Gabriel's eyes were still that terrible black silver, still watching her like she was a bomb he couldn't defuse. "And I will. Because whatever you're hiding, Omega, it's not desire I'm sensing." He leaned in, just close enough that only she could hear his next words. "It's a trigger." Then he straightened, turned to his guards, and gave the order that shattered Nora's world into pieces. "Take her to the keep. No one touches her, no one questions her, and no one." His gaze swept the hall, cold and final. "Speaks of this outside these walls." The guards moved. Nora felt hands on her arms, firm but not cruel, pulling her off the stone and toward the side exit. She didn't fight. Couldn't. Her mind was spinning too fast, trying to understand what had just happened, what Gabriel had done. He hadn't claimed her as a mate. He'd claimed her as a weapon. And the way the court was staring, shocked, confused, afraid, told her one thing clearly. The Lycan King had just broken his own law in front of everyone, and no one knew why. The Black Keep smelled like old stone and older secrets. Nora sat on the edge of a bed she hadn't chosen, in a room she hadn't asked for, staring at a door that locked from the outside. The guards had been polite, professional. They'd called it protection. But protection and captivity wore the same chains when you couldn't leave. She'd been here 3 hours, and already her skin itched with the memory of another locked room, another pack that had called her treatment care while they bled her dry. Focus. She pressed her palms against her thighs, counting breaths. "You've survived worse. You escaped worse." But she'd never been seen before. Not like this. Not by someone who could smell through her suppressant, who'd looked at her like she was a puzzle he needed to solve before it exploded. The door opened without warning. Nora shot to her feet, heart slamming, but it wasn't Gabriel. It was a woman, tall, elegant, with silver-threaded dark hair and eyes that held too much knowledge. She wore the white robes of a moon priestess, But her presence felt different, warmer, almost familiar. Nora. The woman's voice was soft, careful. Do you remember me? Nora's breath caught. No, it can't be. Evelyn? The priestess smiled, and it was like sunlight breaking through storm clouds. You do remember. Oh, sweet girl. I've been searching for you for 3 years. Evelyn. The woman who'd found Nora half dead at the border, who'd taught her about suppressants, about hiding, about survival, who'd told her she deserved better than what her pack had done. Nora's chest tightened with something dangerous, something like hope. What are you doing here? I'm the king's chief advisor on heat trafficking cases. Evelyn moved closer, her expression pained. When I heard what happened in the hall tonight, I came immediately. Are you hurt? Did he? I'm fine. Nora's voice cracked. But I don't understand. Why did he claim me? What did he smell? Evelyn's face shifted. Concern, calculation, something else Nora couldn't name. Gabriel is complicated. The hollow crown has been driving him to detect heats with unnatural precision. It's part of the curse. She paused. But you shouldn't be detectable. Not with the suppressant I gave you. I took it exactly as you said. I know. Evelyn reached out, squeezed Nora's hand, which means something else is happening, something even I don't understand yet. Her grip tightened. But I will protect you, I promise, just like I did before. For the first time since stepping onto the verification stone, Nora felt her shoulders drop. She's here. I'm not alone. Does he know? Nora whispered. About my old pack? About what they did? No. And he won't. Not if you don't want him to. Evelyn's expression hardened. But Nora, you need to be careful. Gabriel is hunting the trafficking network, but he's ruthless if he thinks you're connected. I'm not. I was a victim. I know that, but he doesn't. Evelyn released her hand, stepped back. I'll work on getting you released quietly. In the meantime, stay invisible. Don't give him reasons to dig deeper. Can you do that? Nora nodded, even though her wolf was growling low in her chest. Something's wrong. But she couldn't afford to question the one person who'd ever helped her. Evelyn moved toward the door, then paused. One more thing. If Gabriel offers you a deal, don't take it. Whatever he promises, it's a trap designed to bind you to the crown. Her eyes softened. Trust me. Then she was gone. Nora sat back down slowly, her mind spinning. She wasn't alone. Evelyn was here. That should have felt like safety. So why did her wolf keep circling, restless and wary, like prey that had just walked into a trap it couldn't see yet? Gabriel came at midnight. Nora heard his footsteps before the door opened, deliberate, unhurried, the kind of walk that said he owned every stone in this castle and everyone inside it. She stood from the bed, spine straight, refusing to look small even though her heart was hammering. The door swung open. The Lycan King filled the frame, still wearing the formal black from the ceremony, but his collar was open now, his sleeves rolled to his forearms. He looked less like a king and more like a predator who'd finally cornered something interesting. His eyes were silver again, normal, but Nora remembered the black, and it made her wolf press flat. Sit, Gabriel said. I'll stand. His mouth curved, not quite a smile. Brave or stupid, I haven't decided which. He stepped inside, closed the door behind him. The room suddenly felt smaller. Do you know why you're here, Omega? Because you're paranoid. Because you're lying. He moved closer, circling her slowly. The suppressant you're using, it's military grade. Illegal outside of Crown-sanctioned operations. Where did you get it? Nora's jaw tightened. I stole it. From? Does it matter? Everything matters when heats are being trafficked and sold like currency. Gabriel stopped in front of her, too close, his scent wrapping around her like smoke. You walked into my hall wearing a weapon designed to hide trafficking victims. Either you're running from someone, or you're working for them. I'm surviving. By making yourself untraceable. His gaze dragged over her face, searching. Which means someone hurt you badly enough that you'd rather disappear than fight. Nora's breath hitched. He's too close to the truth. Gabriel's expression shifted, something almost like understanding before it hardened again. I'm going to make you an offer, and you're going to accept it. I don't take orders from kings. You will from this one. He stepped back, clasped his hands behind him. Give me one heat cycle. Under my control in this keep, monitored and protected. Let me verify what you are and why my instincts are screaming that you're dangerous. And if I refuse? Then I assume you're connected to the network, and I investigate you the way I investigate all suspected traffickers. His voice went cold. Thoroughly. Nora's stomach dropped. If he digs into my past, he'll find the pack. He'll find the records. He'll find what they did. And worse, they'll find her. Gabriel watched her think, watched her calculate. In exchange, I'll give you legal status, a name that can't be erased, immunity from prosecution, and when it's over, you walk, free, untouchable. Why? The word ripped out of her. Why do you care? Because something about you triggered a response in me that hasn't happened in 5 years. His jaw clenched. And the last time it did, I found a trafficking ring operating inside my own council. So either you're the key to exposing another one, or I'm the threat. Yes. Nora's mind raced. He's offering me access, protection, away inside the palace. She'd come to the census planning to stay invisible, but invisible meant powerless. If she was already caught, already exposed, maybe she could use it. Maybe she could find the ledger from the inside, identify the buyers, burn the whole system down while Gabriel thought she was just a scared Omega under observation. Revenge from within. One cycle, Nora said slowly. Then I walk. No strings. No strings. And you don't investigate my past. Gabriel's eyes narrowed. What are you hiding? The same thing you are. Nora lifted her chin. Survival. For a long moment, he just stared at her. Then he extended his hand. We have a deal. Nora took it. His palm was warm, calloused, and the moment their skin touched, something sparked, sharp and electric, racing up her arm and straight into her chest where her wolf suddenly lifted its head and howled. Gabriel jerked back, eyes flashing that terrible black-silver again. They both stood frozen, breathing hard. What the hell was that? Nora whispered. Gabriel's voice came out rough. I don't know, but we're going to find out. The Black Keep had rules. Nora learned them fast. Don't leave her wing without an escort. Don't speak to the other prisoners, because that's what they were, even if Gabriel called them protective custody cases. And absolutely, under no circumstances, don't miss her daily monitoring sessions with the king. 3 days in, and those sessions felt like interrogations wrapped in civility. Gabriel sat across from her in a sparse study, a leather journal open between them. Tell me about your last pack. No. Your heat cycles. When did they start becoming irregular? None of your business. His jaw tightened. You agreed to cooperate. I agreed to 1 cycle under observation, not a confession. Nora crossed her arms. Besides, you're asking the wrong questions. Then what should I be asking? Why your alphas are getting weaker? Gabriel went still, dangerously still. What did you say? Nora had noticed it on her second day. The guards who rotated shifts moved slower each time they passed her door, their sense dulled. One had actually stumbled, catching himself on the wall like his legs had forgotten how to work. You're marked alphas, Nora said carefully. The ones who've been near me, they're losing strength. Gabriel's expression shifted. Calculation, concern, something darker. You're certain? I spent 3 years learning to read wolves so I'd never be caught off guard again. Yes, I'm certain. She leaned forward. So either I'm poisonous, or they were never as strong as they thought. The silence stretched between them, heavy with implication. Finally, Gabriel closed his journal. Come with me. He led her deep into the keep, down stairs that spiraled into stone so old it predated the kingdom itself. Nora's wolf paced nervously. This feels like a tomb. Gabriel stopped before a massive iron door, placed his palm against it. Magic hummed, old, vast, wrong. The door groaned open. Inside was a vault, and on the walls, in glass cases that glowed with preservation spells, were vials. Hundreds of them, each one shimmering with color. Pink, violet, gold. Nora's stomach turned. What is this? Confiscated heats. Gabriel's voice was flat. Every trafficking case I've solved in 5 years, every stolen cycle we've recovered. He moved deeper into the vault. They're supposed to be destroyed, but the Crown's laws require them to be stored as evidence until the cases close. Cases that never close. Exactly. He turned to face her, and for the first time, she saw exhaustion in his eyes, real, bone-deep weariness. The hollow crown, the curse that keeps each king alive, it feeds on this, on confiscated heat. Every king before me stayed strong by consuming what was taken from others. Nora's breath caught. And you? I've been starving it. His hands flexed, executing traffickers, burning evidence, trying to break the cycle without collapsing the throne. But the curse fights back. It makes me hunt, makes me need. His gaze locked onto hers, until you walked into that hall, and suddenly I wasn't hunting heat anymore. I was hunting you. The words hung between them, sharp and dangerous. What am I to you? Nora whispered. Really? Gabriel crossed the space between them in 2 strides. I don't know. But when you're near me, the curse goes quiet. And when you're not. His voice roughened. It screams. Nora's heart pounded. She should step back, should keep the distance. But something in her, something reckless and tired of running, made her stay. Maybe your curse recognizes what my pack did. Maybe I'm not quieting it. Maybe I'm triggering it. Then we're both dangerous. Yes. His hand lifted, hovering near her face but not touching. I'm trying to end this system, Nora, but I can't do it without proof, without someone who understands it from the inside. His silver eyes searched hers. Help me. It wasn't a command. It was a plea. And Nora realized with horrible clarity, Gabriel wasn't her enemy. He was her mirror, someone else broken by the same machine, trying to destroy it before it killed them both. Okay, she breathed, but we do this my way. His mouth curved. Deal. The suppressant failed on the 7th day. Nora woke to fire in her veins and a scent blooming from her skin that made the stone walls hum. She stumbled from bed, gasping, clutching the doorframe as heat rolled through her in waves. But it felt wrong. Not like the soft, submissive warmth her old pack had drained. This was sharp, ancient, furious. The guards outside her door collapsed. Just dropped to their knees, gasping, clawing at their chests like someone had ripped the air from their lungs. No. Nora backed away, horror flooding through her. What's happening? Then Gabriel was there, shoving through the door, eyes already that terrifying black silver. But he didn't collapse. He stood rigid, fighting something, his whole body vibrating with tension. Get everyone out of this wing, he snarled at someone behind him. Now. Your Majesty, the guards are in withdrawal. Move. Withdrawal. The word hit Nora like a fist. She stared at the guards being dragged away, their faces twisted in pain, their strength bleeding out like water through a broken dam. Gabriel turned to her slowly. What are you? I don't know. Her voice shook. I'm just an Omega. No. He moved closer, and she saw it then. The way his hands trembled, the way his jaw locked like he was holding himself back from something primal. Omegas don't make alphas collapse. They don't smell like... He stopped, breathing hard. You smell like origin. That's impossible. Look at them. He gestured to where the guards had been. They were marked alphas, elite, and the moment your heat broke through, their power vanished. His eyes bored into hers. Because it was never theirs. It was borrowed, stolen. Nora's world tilted. From who? From you. Gabriel's voice went rough. Or from whatever bloodline you carry. Prime heat, the first Lycan heat, the one that built this realm. It doesn't submit to alphas. It creates them. And when Prime awakens, it calls the power back. Prime heat. The words echoed in Nora's skull, rearranging everything she thought she knew about herself. Her old pack hadn't just drained her to make their alphas stronger. They'd been feeding off the source, off a power so old it predated hierarchy itself. If this is true, Nora whispered, then every alpha in this realm is artificially strong. Yes. Gabriel's expression was grim. The trafficking network isn't just selling heat for pleasure or status. They're mining prime bloodlines to sustain the entire power structure. And you knew. I suspected. But I couldn't prove it without... He gestured at her. Without this. Nora's legs gave out. She sank against the wall, her mind racing. I'm not broken. I'm not unstable. I was a battery for a system that needs people like me to function. How many? Her voice came out hollow. How many others like me? I don't know. The records are buried. Hidden. Gabriel crouched in front of her, his gaze intense. But Nora, if you can control this, if you can weaponize Prime Heat, we can expose them. All of them. By destroying every alpha in the kingdom? By proving their strength was a lie. His hand hovered near hers. You wanted revenge. This is it. Not just against your pack, against everyone who profited from your pain. Nora looked at him. This king, who was cursed to feed on what was stolen, who'd been fighting his own nature for 5 years, who was offering her a way to burn it all down. There's something you're not telling me, she said quietly. About the curse. About what happens if I bond with you. Gabriel's jaw tightened. Prime Heat doesn't crown kings. It judges them. If we bond and I'm found unworthy. He stopped. Exhaled slowly. The curse consumes me. Completely. So you're asking me to be your executioner? I'm asking you to be the truth. His silver eyes held hers. Whatever that means. Nora felt her heat pulse again, wild and waiting. This is bigger than revenge. This is revolution. Then let's find the ledger, she said, and burn this kingdom to the ground. They found the ledger 3 days later, hidden in the temple archives beneath layers of protection spells only a moon priestess could access. Gabriel broke through them like they were paper. Nora's hands shook as she opened the ancient book, its pages filled with names, dates, transactions. Every stolen heat catalogued like inventory, every prime bloodline tracked like livestock. She flipped through pages, her rage building with each entry. Then she found the section marked Active Acquisitions. Her breath stopped. There, in elegant script at the top of the procurement list, Evelyn Frost, Chief Acquisitions Coordinator. No. The word tore from Nora's throat. No, that's... She saved me. She helped me escape. Gabriel moved beside her, reading over her shoulder. His expression went dark. Nora. She gave me the suppressant. She told me how to hide. Nora's voice cracked. She was the only person who... Look at the date. Nora's eyes dropped to the notation beside Evelyn's name. Subject N7. Nora. Suppressant protocol initiated. Delay prime emergence until optimal market conditions. Buyer. Royal Vault. Status. Pending delivery. The room spun. She didn't save you, Gabriel said quietly. She was grooming you. Nora's knees buckled. Gabriel caught her, but she barely felt it. Her mind was fracturing, replaying every moment, every kind word, every reassurance, every promise of protection. Trust me, Evelyn had said. I'll keep you safe. Safe. Like a prize kept in a vault until someone paid enough to claim it. The suppressant wasn't to hide you from traffickers. Gabriel continued, his voice tight with fury. It was to delay your prime heat until she could sell you to the highest bidder, which was the crown. Nora's laugh came out broken. She was selling me to you. To the curse. Gabriel's hands tightened on her shoulders. Not to me. I never authorized. He stopped, jaw clenching. My counsel. They've been feeding the hollow crown behind my back. Before Nora could respond, alarms shrieked through the keep. Gabriel's head snapped up. That's the perimeter breach signal. They ran, through corridors filling with guards, past wolves shouting orders, until they reached the main hall where chaos had erupted. Evelyn stood at the center, surrounded by a dozen robed figures. Moon priests, all of them, but their eyes glowed with something wrong, something corrupted. Gabriel, Evelyn's voice carried across the hall, sweet as poison. You've been digging where you shouldn't. You sold her. Gabriel's words came out lethal. You sold Nora to my own counsel. I preserved a valuable resource. Evelyn's gaze shifted to Nora, and there was no warmth left in it. Only calculation. Do you know how rare prime bloodlines are, child? You should be grateful. I kept you alive when your pack would have drained you dead. You made me think I was broken. Nora's voice shattered across the hall. You made me hide what I was. Because wild prime heat destabilizes everything. Look around you. Evelyn gestured to the guards, still weakened from Nora's earlier awakening. You're a walking apocalypse. The market needed you controlled, refined, useful. The market can burn. Evelyn's expression hardened. The council has already voted. You're to be transferred to the vault immediately for processing. And Gabriel, her smile turned cruel. Your execution for treason is scheduled for dawn. signed by your own advisors. Gabriel moved in front of Nora instinctively. You'll have to go through me. That's the plan. Evelyn raised her hand, and the corrupted priests moved forward, magic crackling around them like lightning. Gabriel's eyes flashed black silver. Nora, run. I'm not leaving you. They want you alive. They'll kill me just to prove a point. He looked back at her, and his expression was raw, honest. Run. Find allies. Come back with an army. Gabriel. The priests attacked. Magic exploded. Gabriel shifted mid-dodge, his Lycan form massive and terrifying, buying her seconds. Go. Nora ran. She ran through smoke and screaming, through corridors she'd memorized, out into the cold night air with her heart in pieces and Evelyn's words chasing her like ghosts. You're a walking apocalypse. Maybe it was time to prove her right. Nora didn't run far. She ran to the one place Evelyn would never expect, the slums where discarded Omegas lived in shadows, forgotten by the realm that had used them up. She found them in a crumbling sanctuary, 24 wolves, all bearing the same haunted eyes Nora had seen in her own reflection for years, drained, broken, surviving. I need your help, Nora said, standing in their doorway with her prime heat still crackling under her skin. An older Omega named Lily stepped forward, scarred and cautious. We don't help anyone, especially not someone who smells like that. Like what? Like power we've spent our lives feeding. Lily's eyes narrowed. You're prime, aren't you? One of the sources they mined us to sustain. Nora didn't flinch. Yes, and I just found out 3 days ago. She met each of their gazes. My pack drained me for years, told me I was unstable, broken, wrong. Then I escaped and learned the entire kingdom is built on the same lie, that alphas are strong because they're better, not because they're stealing from us. Murmurs rippled through the group. The Lycan King is being executed at dawn, Nora continued. Not because he's corrupt, but because he tried to stop the trafficking. Because he's been starving the curse instead of feeding it, her voice strengthened. And the woman who orchestrated all of it, who sold me, who probably sold some of you, is about to take control of the throne and expand the operation. So let them destroy each other, Lily said bitterly. Why should we care about kings? Because she has the ledger. Nora pulled the journal from her coat. She'd grabbed it before fleeing. Every name, every transaction, every bloodline they've tracked. If we expose this publicly, we don't just save Gabriel. We break the entire system. Lily's expression shifted. That's suicide. You'd need an army. I have prime heat that makes alphas drop to their knees. Nora's wolf surged forward, and her scent flooded the room. Ancient, undeniable, true. And I have 24 Omegas who are tired of being batteries. That's enough. The silence stretched. Then a younger Omega named Kara stepped forward, trembling but resolute. I'm in. Me too, another said. And me. One by one, they joined her, not because they trusted Nora, because they were done being invisible. They moved at midnight, ghosts in the dark, while the council prepared Gabriel's execution in the grand hall. Nora led them through servant passages, her prime heat carefully controlled now, not suppressed, but weaponized. She'd spent the evening learning to direct it, to let it pulse in waves instead of floods. They emerged in the gallery above the hall, just as Evelyn placed the hollow crown on a velvet pillow, preparing the transfer ritual. Gabriel knelt in silver chains at the center, bloodied but unbroken. His eyes swept the room, not with fear but with cold calculation, like he was counting exits he'd never reach. Evelyn began her speech about restoring order and protecting the realm from dangerous elements. Nora stepped to the gallery rail. You forgot one element, she called out, her voice cutting through the ceremony. Every head turned. Evelyn's face went white. The one you tried to sell. Nora vaulted over the rail, landing in the center of the hall with her pack behind her. 25 Omegas, all radiating the same fury, the one who brought receipts. She threw the ledger at Evelyn's feet. It landed open, pages spilling across the marble, names and crimes exposed under torchlight. Every alpha in this room, Nora said, her voice carrying to the rafters, has been sustained by stolen heat. Every title, every position, every ounce of power, built on Omegas you drained and discarded. Her eyes swept the council, and she orchestrated it all. Evelyn's composure cracked. Seize her! But when the guards moved forward, Nora let her prime heat pulse, just once, controlled and devastating. Half the guards collapsed. The other half froze, feeling their borrowed strength waver. Gabriel's chains shattered. He rose slowly, silver eyes blazing. I believe we have something to discuss. As equals. Nora met his gaze across the hall. Ready to burn it down? His smile was feral. Light the match. Evelyn didn't go down quietly. You think exposing this changes anything? She laughed, bitter and sharp. The realm needs this system. Without it, every alpha loses their strength. Without alphas, there's chaos, anarchy, death. Good, Nora said. Let them be weak like the rest of us. Let them earn their power instead of stealing it. Evelyn's eyes flashed. You're condemning thousands. I'm freeing them. Nora stepped forward, her prime heat building. From a lie that made my pain profitable. The corrupted priests moved to flank Evelyn, magic crackling. But the Omegas behind Nora stood firm, and something shifted in the hall. Wolves who'd been watching in silence began to murmur, began to question. Gabriel's voice cut through. The hollow crown feeds on confiscated heat to sustain itself. Every king who wore it became addicted, became a monster. He looked at his council with disgust. You knew. You've always known. And you kept feeding it because it kept you in power. We kept the realm stable, one counselor spat. You kept it enslaved. Gabriel turned to the crowd, to the witnesses, to history itself. I refuse this crown. I refuse a throne built on stolen lives. The hall erupted. Shouts, accusations, panic. Evelyn's composure shattered completely. If you reject the crown, the curse transfers to the next royal bloodline. It will find a host. It will consume. Let it try. Nora's voice rang clear. I'm prime. I don't submit to curses. I judge them. She walked to the velvet pillow, to the hollow crown that had poisoned generations. Every wolf in the hall held their breath. Nora picked it up. The moment her fingers touched the metal, the curse surged. Dark, hungry, vicious. It tried to wrap around her mind. Her wolf tried to make her need the stolen heat, the way every king had needed it. But prime heat didn't bow. It burned. Nora's body ignited with golden light, pure and searing. The curse screamed inside the crown, thrashing against a power older than kingdoms, older than theft. She felt it trying to corrupt her, to twist her into another predator. Instead, she unmade it. This is for every Omega you bled dry, Nora whispered. Every life you broke, every heat you stole. The crown shattered in her hands. Not cracked, not damaged, disintegrated, reduced to ash and smoke that dissipated into nothing, taking the hollow crown curse with it. The silence was absolute. Then the alphas who'd been sustained by stolen heat began to collapse, not violently, but like puppets with cut strings. Their borrowed strength bleeding away, leaving them mortal, vulnerable, equal. Evelyn staggered back, her face twisted with rage. You've destroyed everything. No, Nora's voice was steady. I destroyed your everything. The rest of us are just getting started. Gabriel moved beside her, and together they faced the hall. New law, he declared, his voice carrying absolute authority despite having no crown. No heat can be taken without consent. Every confiscated cycle in the vault will be traced back and returned if the donor still lives. Any wolf found trafficking will face execution. And the Omegas? Someone shouted. Who protects them now? Nora stepped forward. We protect ourselves. With legal rights. With autonomy. With the same respect you demand. She looked at Lily, at Kara, at her pack. We're not asking permission anymore. The Omegas in the gallery howled, not in submission, but in triumph. It spread through the hall like wildfire. Omegas who'd been silent, invisible, began to howl, and slowly, reluctantly, some betas joined them. Even a few alphas who'd never known their power was stolen. Evelyn was seized by guards who'd chosen the right side of history. As she was dragged away, she spat one last curse. You'll regret this. Nora met her eyes. The only thing I regret is believing you ever cared. Then Evelyn was gone, and the hall was chaos. Beautiful, necessary chaos. Gabriel turned to Nora. What now? She looked at the space where the crown had been, at the Omegas claiming their voices, at a future unwritten. Now, Nora said. We rebuild, without crowns, without theft, without shame. Together? She took his hand, the king who'd starved a curse, and the Omega who'd broken it. Together. Can they actually rebuild, or will the old powers strike back? Drop your predictions and subscribe, because the ending will show you exactly what victory looks like when it's earned, not stolen. 6 months later, the realm looked different. Nora stood in what used to be the vault, the place where stolen heats had been stored like trophies. Now it was a sanctuary, walls painted in soft colors, windows open to let light flood in. The vials were gone, returned or respectfully destroyed. In their place, records, resources, healing spaces. She ran her fingers along a new plaque on the wall. The prime accord. Every heat belongs to its bearer, always. You're smiling, Gabriel said from the doorway. Nora turned. He looked different too. Lighter, without the weight of a cursed crown. He wore simple clothes now, still commanding, but no longer isolated by power he hadn't earned. I'm allowed to smile, she said. We won. You won. He crossed to her, wrapped his arms around her waist. I just stopped being part of the problem. You did more than that. Nora leaned into him, breathing in his scent, pine and iron, familiar now, safe. You chose accountability over power. That's rare. The bond between them had solidified slowly, carefully, over months of rebuilding. Not the instant, fated mate connection of stories, but something better. Chosen, earned, real. Prime Heat didn't force bonds. It offered them, and Nora had offered hers to a king who'd proven he'd rather be powerless than complicit. How's the council meeting going? She asked. Lily's terrifying them. Gabriel's smile was proud. She's pushing for mandatory consent training for all alphas. Half of them look like they want to run. Good. They should be scared. We're rewriting centuries of abuse. Nora pulled back to look at him. It's going to take generations to undo the damage. Then we start now. He brushed a strand of hair from her face. The outreach centers are opening next week. 20 cities, all funded by liquidating the old council's assets. Poetic justice. Your idea. Nora's chest warmed. She'd designed the centers herself, places where Omegas could learn about their heat cycles without shame, access suppressants if they chose them, report abuse without fear. Places that protected instead of exploited. Her old pack had been tried and convicted. The buyers from the ledger, imprisoned or executed. Evelyn was serving life in isolation, her moon priestess status stripped, her lies exposed. And Nora? Nora had stopped hiding. I got a letter today, she said quietly, from an Omega in the Northern Territories. She said reading about the trial gave her courage to report her pack. She's free now. Gabriel's expression softened. That's the third one this week. I know, Nora's voice caught. I spent so long thinking my pain was singular, that I was alone. But there were hundreds of us, Gabriel, maybe thousands. And now they know they don't have to carry it alone. He pressed his forehead to hers. Because you showed them it's possible to survive and still demand better. A knock interrupted them. Kara poked her head in, grinning. Luna Nora, you're needed at the ceremony. Luna. The title still felt strange. Nora hadn't wanted it. Titles felt too much like chains. But the Omegas had insisted. Not Luna as property or decoration, but Luna as leader. As the voice that refused to be silenced. She'd accepted, on her terms. The ceremony was simple. No grand hall, no forced presentation. Just a circle of wolves, alphas, betas, Omegas standing together, and a new law being signed into existence. Gabriel spoke first, his voice steady. Power without accountability is tyranny. Strength without consent is theft. Today we formalize what should have always been true. Autonomy is not negotiable. Then Nora stepped forward, holding the document that would reshape their world. This isn't just about protecting Omegas. It's about teaching everyone, every designation, that your worth isn't measured by what you can take. It's measured by what you choose to give. She signed her name, Nora, Prime of the Free Pack. No last name from a pack that had hurt her. No title borrowed from Gabriel's crown. Just her name, and the pack she'd built from survivors who'd become warriors. The crowd erupted, not in submission, but in celebration. Gabriel pulled her close as the sun set behind them, painting the sky in gold and fire. What happens now? Nora watched the wolves dancing, laughing, healing. She felt her prime heat humming peacefully, no longer a weapon or a curse, just power she controlled. Now, she said, turning to kiss the king who'd chosen her over kingdoms, we live. And finally, she did.